Hey everybody! Oops, I didn't know it was already going. How's it going? Happy Wednesday! Let us know if you're here. I'm gonna look at the comments now. It's sharing the post. Hey April, how's it going? Hello and welcome everybody. Hey Joanne. Everybody on all the different networks and YouTube. If you're from YouTube and you're watching, let us know because I want to know how many people watch from YouTube because I'm trying to build up the YouTube channel. I'm doing good. How are you? April asked how we're doing.
Hello.
Can you see it? All right. I don't know. April, are you new or are you on Things Network? So we're going to just talk about basically like anything that we can. Oh, she's gone. Anything that we can think of that's unexplained. It can be paranormal. It can be a cold case, files, anything. Like anything we want to talk about that's actually unexplained. Hey, on Things Network. Hey, Things Network. And here's Dawn. Yeah, I'm working on building up my YouTube. I've gone from like 20 something viewers to like almost 100 in the last few weeks. So I'm broadcasting on there also. If anybody wants to check out the Spectral Sailor on YouTube, we're broadcasting on there. So we don't have like a guest tonight. We may have one next week, but we were going to just talk about like anything that you guys want to talk about. If you want to talk about current events, like one of the trials that's going on or whatever, serial killers, if you want to talk about paranormal, if you want to talk about unexplained, like alien activity, UFOs, or anything like that. And basically,
Anything.
yeah, anything like that. Or if you have a suggestion for a topic, we can research a topic and do one week that you have picked yourself. Hey Kiki, how's it going? I shared on his page. He has a paranormal page too. How's it going? So if you guys have anything that goes on in like the place that you live at, like there's something that's paranormal and you want to send us the topic or you want to mention it here in the comments, let us know. We'll research that and we can talk about it. And especially if it's anything that's unexplained, anything that's like an ongoing thing where there's not really a lot of evidence that's explaining like what's going on or what phenomena is happening, or let us know. I would like to do some shows over some UFO activity and alien activity.
I
Hey,
haven't I haven't been on this for a while on StreamYard. Is there a way I can see the chat?
I'm not sure unless I do this. Can you see when I highlight the comment and put it up on the screen?
Yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
because I
We have.
haven't.
He said, "What are your thoughts about Flight 19 and the USS Cyclops? Why do you think they have not found them after the disappearance in the Bermuda Triangle?" What you think, Dawn?
I don't know. The Bermuda Triangle is a long time mystery. I'm not gonna go in there looking for stuff.
I don't know. I might go into that like or close to that area or whatever. I'm probably gonna look that flight up right now. I'm gonna Google it because you said Flight 19 because the last one that I can remember that disappeared, I think it was called a different number of a flight. So Flight 19, I'm not remembering which one that is. There's more than one flight that's gone missing. Is that one of the most recent ones, or is that one of the longer ones, like from longer time ago, that has still not been explained or recovered? Kiki? Five General Motors TBM Avenger torpedo bombers that disappeared. Oh, in 1945 over the Bermuda
Yeah,
Triangle.
that's that's from a long time ago.
I should know this one. It's the U.S. Navy. During the U.S. Navy overwater navigation training flight from Naval Air Station Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 14 airmen on the flight were lost, as well as 13 crew members and a Martin PBM Mariner flying boat that subsequently launched from Naval Air Station Banana River to search for the Flight 19. Oh, wow. So whoever went to search for it has also disappeared? Like, what phenomena happened that year? Or, like, have you looked up any, like, possible 1945? Like, looked up any connections to anything else that was happening that year or anywhere nearby there, close, like, that could be sort of, like, connected to that? A report by Navy investigators concluded that Flight leader, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor, mistook small islands offshore for the Florida Keys after his compasses stopped working, resulting in the flight heading over open sea and away from land. So I wonder if they ran out of fuel and they went down into the sea or the ocean. They said they thought they saw the Mariner explode in midair. Oh, well, that'd be another cause. If something explodes in midair, it's definitely not going to stay up there. The report was later amended by the Navy to read cause unknown, so they listed it as a cause unknown when they closed the case. Hey, Jeremy, how's it going?
Hi, Jeremy.
The report attributed the loss of the PBM aircraft to an explosion in midair while searching for the flight. So that one was searching for the first flight that had went missing. With the...
And then the second one exploded?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? I figured I'd ask to see if your thoughts were on it. Do you know if anyone has gone looking for it, or how many people, or have you seen any documentaries or anything about it, Kiki, where someone's gone looking for it? Hey, Nick. How's it going?
Okay.
So I'd be interested in seeing if there's anything more current on it, like
Hey, Nick.
in the last few years, you know? So when you look it up, go to Wikipedia, navigation training flight. Go ahead.
And in the Bermuda Triangle, it could be like a magnetic disturbance that causes all them flights to lose their bearings, their way, and that could be why so many flights have been lost.
I'm going to see if there's any more current articles, like someone that's gone on one of like those TV shows on the Discovery Channel or whatever, and they went to like look for it or something, like Josh Gates or anybody. 2015, the mysterious disappearance of Flight 19 in 2015. There's an updated article on it, and also in 2021. Take a look back at the most perplexing mysteries in aviation history. I want to know if there's any updated information, like they've found any of the wreckage or anything.
And here comes my cat. Every time I get on a live, my cat wants to be part of it.
I've seen plenty of documentaries on it, and they thought that they found Flight 19, but it turned out to be a set of 5 different Avenger airplanes and the Martin Mariner that went looking for them. Those things were known as flying gas tanks. If you lit a cigarette up inside of it, you'd probably explode. Oh. Surely the patrol turned north. I've seen if like these updated articles are just basically reprising what happened, I think. They're not saying that they found anything in this article. This is a History Channel article, and then there's another article, Naval History and Heritage. I have to study that for my tests sometimes. Shortly after blah, 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 World War. Taylor was a seasoned naval aviator with some 2,500 flying hours and multiple World War II combat tours in the Pacific. So that's the person that was flying this thing. So they were very experienced. It wasn't a newbie. On the first leg of the flight, everything went as planned as they dropped practice bombs without incident. And as the group began to turn north for a second journey, trouble began with Flight 19. Approximately 3:45 p.m., Fort Lauderdale's flight tower received a message from Taylor, who reportedly sounded confused and worried. Cannot see land. We seem to be off course, he said. We cannot be sure where we are, the flight leader announced. Repeat, cannot see land. Contact was lost for about 10 minutes, but when it resumed, it was not the voice of the flight leader. We can't find west. Everything is wrong. We can't be sure of any direction. Everything looks strange, even the ocean, the voice reported. That's weird. There was another delay, and the tower personnel learned from intercepted transmissions that the flight leader had turned over his command to another pilot for unknown reasons. That's kind of odd, too. After 20 minutes of radio silence, the new leader's voice transmitted to the tower, but it was trembling, bordering on hysteria. We can't tell where we are. Everything is, can't make out anything. We think we may be about 225 miles northeast of base. For a few moments, the pilot rambled incoherently, but before uttering the last words ever heard from Flight 19, it looks like we are entering white water. We're completely lost. Oh, wow. It's kind of scary to hear that, if they heard that. Last transmissions of those people, and we could hear the fear in their voices. Within minutes, tower personnel scrambled 2 PBM Mariner flying boats carrying rescue equipment. They were headed to Flight 19's last known estimated position, and after 10 minutes into the rescue flight, they checked in with the tower, but that was the last time one of the rescue planes transmitted back to Fort Lauderdale's flight operations. Now, 6 aircraft with personnel had vanished. For 5 days, Coast Guard, Navy, and Naval Aviation personnel searched extensively in more than 250,000 square miles of Atlantic and Gulf waters, but nothing was found. No aviators, no wreckage, life raft, or even an oil slick. Nothing. The Navy launched an investigation into the incident, but nothing conclusive was found. 14 men were lost as a result of Flight 19 tragedy, and 13 more were lost from the PBM Mariner attempting rescue. That is crazy. Hey, Morty. Mort Ali. Thank you. Did I miss you, gals? We missed all y'all, too. We were excited about tonight.
Yeah, we were.
And we're talking about anything that's unexplained. If you have anything you want us to look up, research, or talk about, if you have some questions, or if you want to ask anyone else that might be watching, there's a few other people that are watching, then we're talking about anything that was an unsolved mystery, that was an unresolved case that was closed, unresolved. The final words from them right before they lost all contact was, Fox Terror, were the call signs for Flight 19. Was that the last transmission from the rescuers? Because it didn't say anything on here from them about communicating with them. I wonder if they did. The guys that went to rescue them, the 13 men. There's an article in here that says Exorcism of the Devil's Triangle. That might be something interesting to talk about on another night. If Exorcist Amendment was. Oh, crazy. So their last transmission was they were trying to get an answer back from Flight 19. And then it said that on the article I was reading, and he said he thinks that it just exploded in midair. The rescue craft did. It's crazy, though. You would think they'd still find pieces of it laying around somewhere.
Yeah, really.
When they sent more people to check it out after that rescue mission failed, they sent more people out, and they said there wasn't even an oil slick. Like where oil was floating on top of the water. That's kind of crazy. It's like they literally vanished into thin air. They didn't even make it water.
Where would you look?
Hey, Jeff. And there should be debris on the water, you know what I mean? Like pieces of those 2 crafts that were gone. Like some kind of piece of the one that exploded should be there too. Like, why did it explode? Oh, what if it ran into a UFO and it couldn't see it because it was translucent, and the aliens just kind of like ridded the whole entire area of any evidence to leave it a mystery. And what if they abducted the other guys? They said that we're headed into whitewater. That's what's got me curious. Whitewater.
That meant.
I don't know. Like into the water? Like, are we headed down into the water? Like we're fixing to go in the water? Water there's not really white. Did he mean white water as in like he's getting closer to whatever land? Well, he said they couldn't see any land. To this day, the Coast Guard does not acknowledge the existence of the Bermuda Triangle. What? Well, the Navy does. I'll tell you that. And the Navy acknowledges the existence and has for many years of alien spacecrafts or UFOs too. So you have a lot of stuff that's been leaked in the last few years from naval pilots and former naval pilots that aren't in the military anymore that have said that they were witness to, or they were supposed to like keep quiet about UFOs or unexplainable flying objects that
Yeah.
they saw. Mm-hmm.
Did they see him coming out of the water, going into and coming out of the
That
water?
I have seen from anyone in the like footage or the interviews, I haven't seen anyone saying they saw him come out of the water. They've seen him in the air though, and like the shape
Yeah.
of them and the speed of them, and there was no known and no recorded crafts supposed to be in the air at that time besides the ones that they already knew about. Like the craft that they saw wasn't just like, another craft from another military or another, branch of military or like some kind of special thing that they should have known about or been informed about. There was no record of some of these things that were in the air. They were just there.
Yeah.
And like the shapes of them, like the Tic Tac one, the Tic Tac one, so it'd be shaped like
Yeah.
this. And the movement of it, they said it was something they hadn't seen, they'd never seen.
Yeah. Oh.
So it was unidentified, 1492, Columbus said he saw green lights in the water around the Bermuda Triangle. Oh, that'd be crazy if it was one of like, if it's like an entryway into another place.
Portal.
Huh?
What are the rumors about the mermaids and stuff?
Well, I was even thinking like something that's there, you just can't see it because there's water there. Like even like Atlantis that was supposed to have existed underwater, or like the giants that were supposed to have existed and they lived underground. None of them like lived above ground. They always lived, well, some of them lived in cave systems or they lived underground. Giants that were supposed to have been like our ancestors or whatever, like way, back many, many years ago. Hey, Kelly. Long time no see. But what were you saying about mermaids? Go ahead.
What are the rumors about mermaids and stuff since you've been like
Hey, Stephanie.
in the Navy? Hi, Stephanie.
Oh, about mermaids?
Yeah.
Well, not that I've heard anything of them like having like a place that like sucks ships in, but in the foggy areas when sailors were out or ships were out, that they would have just like this sirens call or like this song that they used, like their voice or a sound that would lure the men to them.
Yeah.
And they would either take stuff from them or take them to the watery grave.
Yeah.
To Davy Jones' locker, which is the bottom of the ocean.
Davy Jones.
Yeah, Davy Jones' locker is the bottom of the ocean. It's where every sunken ship crew member has gone if they didn't make it alive somehow. But I was thinking even like there were back, like in that same era, I can't say like what era, it'd probably be about the Columbus days, like in the 1492 era or somewhere near there, 1500s. There would also were the stories about the Kraken. There were a lot of stories about the Kraken, which was a giant squid that could actually like take over the ships and drag them down.
Yeah. I watched all the what was that? With Johnny Depp.
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I do too. He said, I believe they existed at one time.
I watched all those.
Kraken. I think that they did too, and I think Megalodon did too. I mean, dinosaurs are real. They have proof. So if something that crazy could exist, why couldn't a huge squid exist or a huge shark? I mean, they did have proof that there was Megalodon. I don't know if it exists now. I don't think it does now, but there was proof that it lived back then. Yeah, I mean, who's been to every square inch of the ocean? I haven't to check. I mean, there's some things that support that that is true, that it still could exist, but there's also like new discoveries made every time that they're doing those excursions. They find all of these different species that they thought were dead, like several different kinds of sharks that they have found that they thought didn't exist anymore for hundreds of years, and they found some alive. The Kraken originated from Scandinavian folklore, usually depicted as an aggressive cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying entire ships and dragging them down. That's the Naval or the Natural History Museum article. That's cool. Traced back to the 12th century when the king of Norway, King Sverre, wrote about monstrous beasts. This is a Greek mythology, which I've studied quite a bit about. Send Zach Baggins out there. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry, that's so funny. I've never really been very fond of him. If he went out there, I wouldn't cry. Kraken is one of the most terrifying creatures of Norse mythology, a legendary sea monster that lurks in the deep seas of the North Atlantic Ocean. The Kraken has been described as a huge squid or an octopus with tentacles that can reach more than a mile long. Jesus. And eyes.
I
Huh?
think I'd have to pee. I think I'd have to pee a little.
Oh my God. Yeah, a lot in my pants. It said that its eyes are the size of giant dinner plates. The Kraken has attacked ships or can attack ships and drag them down to the depths and devour the sailors as its prey. Origin of the Kraken legend can be traced back to the 12th century when the king of Norway, King Sverre, wrote about a monstrous beast that he encountered in his voyage. Later in the 13th century, the Kraken appeared in some of the earliest Norse sagas, such as the Orvar Otter, where the hero otter fights the beast and escapes with his life. The Kraken was also mentioned by naturalists and explorers who tried to explain its existence and characteristics. The Kraken and the other sea monsters, like the Charybdis and the Scylla, which are Greek mythological creatures, um, those also threaten sailors and ships. I have not heard of these two things, and I've been studied in libraries in Greece. Creatures over there. It's crazy. Hey, Adam. How's it
Hey,
going?
Adam.
I gotta keep this on the screen. Sorry, it's just too funny. The Kraken was also believed to have a connection to the god of the sea, Loki, who was known for his mischievous trickery. Kraken
Send
is,
Zach Bagans out there.
huh?
Send Zach Bagans out there.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I gotta put that back on the screen. That's too funny. The Kraken has inspired many artists, writers, and filmmakers. It's appeared in poems, novels, movies, video games, and even in popular culture, such as the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Kraken remains a fascinating and fearsome symbol of the unknown and the dangerous, a creature that can challenge the bravest of heroes and the strongest of ships.
That is too funny.
Yeah, it is.
Did you ever look those up? Those things I told you to yesterday
I don't remember.
about him?
Oh, no, 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 no. Yeah, the Price is Right.
No,
Yeah.
no, not Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, oh, gosh. I was having it in my mind and seeing this vision of him in my head on The Price is Right.
It was Wheel of Fortune
Oh my gosh.
when he was in high school. When the teens were on there,
Hmm.
he was a nerd.
So Google's like Baggins Wheel of Fortune, everybody. Who's on Wheel of Fortune?
Amy.
Here's another one
Yeah, yeah.
about sea serpents and mermaids also. I'm going to talk about this one. So Bermuda Triangle conversation is what we're having. We're just like talking about different things that could have happened to these, like Flight 19, and then the people that came and rescued them, and why there was no oil slicks, no debris, no sign of any wreckage whatsoever when another rescue attempt was made to kind of come and figure out what happened to the Flight 19 and then the rescuers of them that were supposedly seen bursting into flames in the air. We're just coming up with different myths and talking about different things the Bermuda Triangle could possibly be. Why do things disappear there? They were
What about what you were telling me about today? The how that thing was always a hoax.
oh, the Amityville house. Yeah,
Yeah.
we could probably do a whole episode over that. It'd be cool if we could get somebody on here.
Yeah, how all that was a hoax.
Yeah,
That blew my mind.
the Amityville haunting being a
Yeah.
hoax. Yeah.
Yeah.
What time is it? 8:27. I'll read this article and then we can talk about that too after this if you want to. Sea
Okay.
monsters have a prominent role in myth and legend and most seafaring cultures on Earth. And with such aspiring ocean biodiversity, it's not difficult to see why. Sea monsters and their inspirations. Talking about serpents, kraken, and mermaids. So the kraken we've already discussed is like the big, huge, like tentacle-bearing squid-like creature that can drag cephalopod-like creature capable of destroying ships and sailors and bringing them to their doom. Colossal octopus attacking a French ship by malacologist Pierre Denis de Montfort in 1801. It's a painting. Anyways, so there's another illustration of a. Oh wow, that's an awesome picture. That'd be a cool tattoo. It's a Greek painting. I'm going to talk about the sea serpent. Where's it at? Giant squid. Let's get to this. The merfolk, mermaids. Feature of seafaring folklore around the world. Sirens and merfolk with humanoid torsos and serpentine tails have haunted the corners of the maps and human imagination for millennia. Isn't that the truth? You have Little Mermaid coming out soon in a few weeks. The remake.
Yeah, that looks really neat.
It does. A mermaid. This is like an article here, like an old article. Anybody traveling in a wooden ship over the horizon in the 18th century was more out of touch with the rest of humanity than today's astronauts who at least have radio contact. These sailors would sometimes be traveling for years out of contact with people at home. There were big expectations about the fantastic things that they might have seen on the other side of the world. Their stories were so popular that enterprising craftspeople in Japan established a thriving trade of cryptozoological specimens. What? Figure of a mermaid composed of a monkey torso and a fish's tail manufactured in Japan. So this is a man-made cryptozoological specimen. Although today we have recognized creative taxidermy and artfully dried sea animals for the hoaxes that they were, mermaids were once prized features of private cabinets of curiosity and carnival sideshows. What is a Jenny Hanover? Jenny Hanovers were made from small guitar fishes dried and arranged to resemble humanoid merfolk or winged chimeras. It looks like those things that were the Jinn in Pacific Rim. Like the monsters, the sea monsters that came up out of the sea. It looks like one of those. Just like one of those. Jenny Hanovers, which date back into the 1500s, are fantastical sea creatures manufactured from the dried bodies of skates and rays from the family Rhinobatidae, commonly known as guitarfish. These fish live on the seabed, and while the front of their bodies makes them look like a ray or a skate, the rest of their body looks more like a shark. They look weird. A guitarfish, despite the musical name, which refers to their distinctive body shape, guitarfish do not serenade sailors. The placid, bottom-dwelling animals eat invertebrates. They eat invertebrates, and they can be found all over the world in shallow seas. According to somebody that wrote an article about it, the closest resemblance to siren-like behavior is seen in their relatives, the ray. Like the stingrays, I guess. Some small species of ray have endeared themselves to humans with their habit of poking their snouts up out of the water, which can sometimes create a strange face-like apparition emerging from the water. Huh. Hey, Catherine. How's it going? They are often featured in features of aquaria, where some species will even let humans touch them. Oh, like when you go to like an aquarium, you're gonna go to like one of those places that you pay to get into, and it's like everything's in an aquarium, so you can see it. You know, like it's
Oh, yeah.
held in
Okay. Yeah.
captivity. Sea serpents, sea dragons appear in stories from all over the world dating back to antiquity and are usually depicted creating havoc for sailors. I've seen a lot of different things about like if the Loch Ness monster could be like another version of a sea serpent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dragons, Loki the monster, the Loch Ness monster. A sea serpent from Olaus Magnus' book History of the Northern Peoples in 1555 was depicted. Sea serpents myths go back to antiquity over a point of time when we can't even discern what is an oarfish. The next one is an oarfish. Oh, I've seen the oarfish was like this really long ribbon fish. Hey, Louise, any dog from YouTube? How's it going over on the YouTube side? It's like a big, long, silver ribbon looking fish. It's huge. It's really, really long. And they were believed to be extinct for like hundreds of years. And then they discovered one in Japan or China. I thought this article might say the oarfish. It's like a really like skinny thin, like I mean it's not this thin, but pretend this is like it. It's real thin like that, and its
Hmm.
body's long and like this. But it's a fish and it's silver, and it was like believed to be extinct for hundreds of years. And then they discovered some of them, several of them, kind of like back to back. I've seen on different Discovery Channel like things. Museum scientists, curator of the fish, or fish usually swim in a vertical or horizon position using left and right undulations of their bodies and dorsal fins. So then, if it was like this, then imagine how it's going to look if it's doing this. I think that they
Yeah.
had discovered these by looking for one of those videos someone sent in where they thought it was like a Loch Ness monster, and they discovered it was an oarfish.
Okay.
And said, yeah, the oarfish do exist along with the sturgeon and the coelacanthon. Not sure if I spelled that correctly. I don't know either. I don't know what that is. Coelacanthon. Uh-oh. Something came up on my screen that's not supposed to be there. Go away. There. Okay. So we're discussing like things that could be contributing to the Bermuda Triangle and disappearances of different crafts like Flight 19 and some other different ones after that that had disappeared. You know, like all kinds of different things have disappeared there.
Okay.
Harbingers of Doom. Huh?
What about?
This is a sea serpent from the Natural History of Norway. There's like a drawing of it. It's in that like a museum or something. The theory remains unproven, but it's believed that some interesting hypothetical link to have links. It's long, flat, ribbon-shaped animal, so maybe they're saying that it could have been an oarfish. Like back in this era when they thought that there was a sea serpent, that it could have been the oarfish. So yeah, what Dawn was talking about a second ago is I have been researching and watching some different like true crime type shows and serial killer shows, and one of them talked about what's his name, Ronnie, the guy that killed his whole entire family in the Amityville house. So the Amityville house and the horror that happened there was basically Like the man that came, well, he lived there. It was the oldest brother. He lived there, and when his family was all asleep in their beds, because it's so unexplainable that they were all face down, and none of them heard him, Ronnie DeFeo, but it was like the Bermuda Triangle is referred to be the location of the asteroid that hit the Earth, and the gravity field is out of what because it's magnetism, but that's just rumor. Hey, it's more of an explanation than I have. It's
What
kind of
I said
interesting.
earlier.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, Ronnie DeFeo. That was in 74. November the 13th. He shot and killed 6 members of his family at 112 Ocean Avenue. So I've watched like several interviews about him and of him since he was convicted and since he's been in jail and since all of the books and all of the movies first came out and all of the hype about like, there being like a demonically possessed thing that lived in the house or whatnot, because the Lutzes moved in after all that happened. They were the first people to move in after the massacre occurred, or that's what you want to call it. They were the first family that moved in, and they had claimed that there was an evil demonic entity in the home, and the cabinets would fly open, and the shutters would fly off the hinges, and like some other like kind of wild claims, I guess you'd say, were happening in the home. But in the documentary that I watched, it said that the Lutz family they moved in that house. They were particularly interested in that specific house. They moved in and paid a lot of extra money to make sure that the beds the children and the family was killed in stayed in the home so that they could keep them and preserve the disgusting murder scene and live there. So that doesn't scream crazy. I don't know what does. So they paid to keep all of the furniture, everything that was in there when the DeFeos lived there and they moved in. And I do not know these people. Hey, Greg, how's it going? So I'm not talking ill of them all. I don't know all of them. I am just going by the facts that were presented in the documentary.
That is nuts.
Isn't that sick?
That is sickening.
Psycho.
That is sickening. Not only is it sickening to do that to kids.
Yeah, they had 2 boys, and they moved them in there. And they were talking about all of this demonic stuff and all of that in front of those 2 little boys. Imagine what that did to them.
That is sickening.
So I'm trying to find any article that might say how long that they lived there, the Lutz family, because they didn't live there too long, because they supposedly didn't even live there like no time at all, and they weren't running for the hills, like they left. But if they were so scared of what was happening, why would you be sleeping in a freaking bed that kids were murdered in? And I agree with what Louis said. For real. Why they took so long to say it was a hoax. I imagine it was because of the binding agreements between some of the people that were involved, because it was a big, elaborate hoax. There were books and movies and all this stuff made about it. And on the documentary, Ron DeFeo's lawyer came out and said it was a hoax, that he was involved in it. He was trying to get Ron DeFeo from prison to participate and make some statements or whatever, or maybe embellish something that happened when he was there, because some of his statements to try to convince the court or the people when he was on trial, some of his statements he said he purposely made to make people think that he was crazy. So some of his statements were that a pair of black hands came and handed him this rifle to shoot all of them. Another statement was, and his stories changed so many times, he was like a pathological liar, and that's a big, huge red flag. And it's a really common thing for serial killers that have killed many people, and they go to court, their stories change so many times. Pathological liars. Anyways, he also said his sister, like the oldest sister, was in on it, and she is the one that forced him or pushed him to kill all of the family. and that then she was going to kill him with the rifle, or that she shot all of them and she was going to kill him. So he took the rifle and defended himself and shot her. But that was also a lie, because he stated that he did it later on and that he felt bad that he did it. He did feel bad and he didn't feel bad. I don't think so, because the guy that did it himself, that killed all of them himself, said that. Now, I'm saying anything paranormal couldn't have happened that night, which could explain all of the children and the family members being face down in their beds. I think I have, like myself, a more logical explanation for it. It's not paranormal or supernatural, but a lot of people think it's supernatural, and you can't explain that they didn't hear, because apparently the gun that he used and the ammo and the sound of it when it goes off is so loud that no one in that house could have not heard it and been awakened by it and alerted to try to, like run for help or something, or run for safety. So that's like the
I
biggest
wouldn't
part.
believe I wouldn't believe anything that Brian DeFeo says.
Well, no, but if he says that the lawyer came there and tried to get him to embellish stuff so that they could make money off of the house, why would you not believe him? You know what I mean? What is he to gain from that? Honestly, I don't see anything he could gain from that. He's already convicted. He's already serving all of his time. You know what I mean? Like, what's he going to get out of that? Nothing. And the lawyer himself said that it was a hoax. The lawyer that started the hoax with the Lutz family. It was the lawyer that represented him, and the Lutz family created this hoax and had all of these psychics and these other investigators and people to come in. And then there was a cameraman and like some documenter. I guess he was like I don't know what his job title was, but he was someone that writes down everything that happens and records it, was there. And I know that Lorraine Warren, or the Warrens, were there. Two other psychic mediums, two other female psychic mediums. There was like a total of like 12 people, I want to say. They showed some of the footage. They interviewed the guy that was the recorder and the camera recorder. Maybe he's a biographer. Maybe that's what it's called. Well, he said that nothing paranormal or supernatural happened the whole time that they were there. Not anything. And he said the psychic mediums did say that they saw a dark entity in the home, but it could have been Ron DeFeo and his residual energy left there from when he committed those murders. Could have been the tragic death, like the echoes and like the thumbprint or like the stains of the energy that happened when all those people were killed. That could have been what they saw. But he said that nothing happened. They lit candles and were trying to make contact with some entity. The candles didn't flicker or go out. I guess that's what they were trying to do. I don't know. But he said nothing paranormal or supernatural happened when he was there doing the seances with all of those people. The lawyer said because him and the Lutz family got into a lawsuit with each other, they were suing each other. Because at first they were comrades and they were together in starting this like book and this movie and all of this stuff. Yeah, and they were going to like make all this money, and then for some reason something happened and they didn't agree, or maybe one of them was going to get more money or more notoriety than the other, so they started to sue each other, or they had a lawsuit against each other. That's the lawyer Ron DeFeo and the Lutz family. All right, so they went against each other and they had a lawsuit against each other, and the lawyer came out and said it was a hoax. So that's the second person saying it's a hoax, right? The only people that were saying it was that actually happened was the Lutz family that lived there for a very short period of time. So then after the Lutz family gets up and they move out, there are multiple other families that live in there. I don't know who owns it now.
They said nothing happened.
Huh?
They said nothing happened while they were there.
Yeah, they were interviewed and I saw the footage and they said that they had no paranormal activity happen, nothing strange, nothing weird, nothing unexplained happened while they lived there. Yeah. So I think that it is, if anything occurred, it was attached to either Ronnie DeFeo or the Lutz family. and moved when they moved. Who actually does film from tragic passings? Yeah.
I think the Lutz family was just trying to get paid.
I think that they were too, because I don't know who in their right mind would purchase murder beds for children
Yeah.
they were actually murdered in. Now, it would have made sense if they tried to sell them to a museum and cash in on them and get money like that, or something to that extent, or that, like, nature. But no, I wouldn't keep them in my house and try to sleep in them, or have guests over sleeping in them, or anything like that. That would be trying to keep the the place like that, so that, in my point of view, you're trying to conjure back up that kind of activity and those emotions, and you're trying to call back that energy to the home and awaken it of what happened that night. Like, you're wanting it to happen, you're inviting that to happen.
Because
Now,
the Amityville horror movie had nothing to do with the real story. You know, I mean, the Amityville horror movie has nothing. It's so far fetched.
is it? I know that it's made over 20 something movies about. There's been over 20 something movies and documentaries about that house. So just think about all the money that all those people made off of those 6 people's death.
Yeah,
It's kind of sad to me.
it is.
Before
I
they
was when I seen the movies that I seen, I was let down.
he said that movie was a joke.
Yeah, it was. It was ridiculous.
To me, it's like the only people really that could probably verify anything, since the only survivors dead now. But when he wasn't, he was interviewed and said, his truth, or his alleged truth. The only people that could have told you if anything like that happened there would have been all of the victims, and they're not here to say that.
Yeah.
I know it was a known fact that the father of the household was mentally ill and did a lot of crazy things, and he was very abusive. And the grandpa was in the mob or mafia. So, I mean, think about all of that negative family ancestry, and, like, basically, like, their bloodline you could have said, one could say their bloodline was cursed.
Yeah. That nothing I would want anything to do with.
No, I wouldn't mind going in the house, but I definitely wouldn't keep the beds, and I wouldn't sleep in them, and I wouldn't want.
No.
Because if energy and the vibration of a tragic death or murder exists and stays in the place where it happened, can you imagine what it would feel like to lay in one of those beds?
I wouldn't.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're trying to conjure that, anybody can conjure something up. But that doesn't mean it was already there, and it doesn't mean it's what you say it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not for me. Nope.
But I know that from Ronnie DeFeo, he said that he made most of that stuff up about some voice telling him to kill them, because he thought he was going to get to plead insanity. And that makes a lot of sense, honestly. A lot of serial killers do that. A lot of murderers do that.
Yeah, I'm interested in what Brian Kohlberger is gonna say.
I need to, like, really actually go back and catch back up on that case, because I'm not aware of most of the recent stuff that's going on, except for some girl that thinks she's in love with him, which is crazy. But that happens
That
all the time.
that is ridiculous.
Well, the other Murdoch guy has droves of love letters coming in for him.
Uh,
And I'm like, he's not, he's disgusting. Even if he wasn't a murderer, he's not attractive. if he was
Uh,
the same person that didn't do that, you know?
and they think they found, or supposedly they found Xana's ID.
Who?
Xana?
Okay, they said Santa.
No, Xana. Xana's ID in a glove in a box in his apartment. That's what's going around right now.
I'll have to read up on that. I haven't
Yeah.
heard in a couple of days, like, really what's going on with that. You know who I've been following that's been following it really closely and he's been discussing it with everybody is Patrick McCreary from the Haunted Side. I've been like watching all of his content. He's on YouTube and he's on TikTok.
Really?
He's been covering it pretty good, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Little
I
old
gotta,
Pat. Yeah.
I gotta, I gotta look into that.
Yeah, just look up the Haunted Side on TikTok. And you can look on his account and all of the clips and stuff he's put on there as information and like discussions and like photos and like findings and like updated information of all that case. And what was the other? Oh, was the other woman?
Huh.
What was her name?
I ought to do that because I'm really, I've been following it since the very beginning. Um, I find that stuff, very interesting. I don't know what makes them tick. I just, it's really interesting to
I
me.
feel like I do to an extent because once you, I guess you like study so many of those people and so many of the patterns that are similar in them and so many of the things that they do and the fixations that they have that are mostly like very common and similar amongst each other. Like there's a common mindset in a lot of them and a common factors that played up until that point from their childhood. It's I don't know. It's easier kind of to try to like, but you couldn't. I mean, could you really ever say like people that were like that from the time they were born up until now? They're all going to be a serial killer. You can't really, say that. So you
I
really
know.
could literally
I
profile every
I
single.
I gotta understand. Why? What led them to do that? I mean,
Yeah,
how could someone harbor so much hate?
I always want to know all of the details, like every single detail. What did they do it with? How did they do it? Why did they do it? Where did they do it? When did they do it? Like what was going through their
Exactly.
mind at the time? What was like the motive? Um,
Yeah. What drove them
what was
to
the
go?
setting when they decided to do this? Like where were they at when they just was like strolling and they're like, I'm gonna murder somebody today. Like what was going on with them? But there's like, because there's several different kinds of mind types that do that. You have like actual psychopaths.
I mean,
Um,
I could never be that mad at someone.
I don't think even in all of the cases they were mad. And some of them, I don't know
Just
how to,
did it to see if they could get away with it.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, and some of it, yeah, some of them, that's what I think is that they just did it because they got a thrill from it. So they weren't literally mad, like they enjoyed doing it, and it was like a fixation or a grandiose delusion in their mind to where they actually got excited or a high from doing it. Because I think that's why a lot of them will start out and gradually do worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and more and more and more. Kind of
I
like, huh?
I could never understand, and I guess that's because I'm normal. I don't know. I just I don't want to understand. guess that would be the best explanation I could have.
Yeah, I do want to understand though. Like, I want to be as close as you can possibly get without being a monster. You know what I'm saying? As close as you can get to understanding them without being one of them. I don't know.
Maybe I do. I want to understand, but then again, I don't. I want to know why, but then again, I don't.
What I do also have like a fascination with is like the trends. Okay, like in the 80s, I'd say probably the 60s or the 90s, there were far more serial killers. Like, um,
I want to
that,
know why he thought he could get away with it.
which
There
one?
are
Oh, which one?
Brian.
Oh, him.
There are so many. There are so many cameras, so many.
But it
There,
doesn't really seem like he thought he was going to get away with it. You know what I'm saying?
there,
Because he left evidence on the crime scene that left his DNA and like he left his signature there on his supposedly that I don't know, you know, if this is his first serial killing or not, but like he left
they
stuff on
don't.
the crime scene.
They don't think so.
No, and I've heard that they even think that he could have been connected to when he left and went on the road trip with his dad after the murders were committed, that he could have actually even, but then they dismissed that he did killed several other people that were on that trail that he took that were also killed right after that happened. But then they were like, oh,
They're looking back in his high school days too.
yeah. But like usually that's not the first thing that happens. If you do something that grandiose and like that big, it's usually not the first thing.
And
It's usually
that
the
short of
other smaller things that led up to the enjoyment of like doing something that big. Not
and
enjoyment
that
for me when I say that, I mean like that person's enjoyment.
and that short of time, 4 people in that short of time, and that Ian was not that short of that small of a guy.
Moving on, I don't remember.
He was a big dude.
Yeah.
I think he was like 6'5".
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty big guy. I mean, Brian's a pretty big guy, but that's pretty big.
Yeah, he must have really got him on.
And in several ways, it kind of actually reminds me of the Ron DeFeo murder. And they even found after Ron DeFeo said he came home the next day and he had to break in the house because his family wouldn't answer the door and he found them dead in their beds and he acted like he'd been gone all night. The shell casings were collected and he collected the shell casings that night and disposed of all of them and any evidence, but the wounds were identified and what weapon was used and what ammo. And he was dumb enough to have left boxes that he bought the exact weapons and the ammo in his bedroom.
Uh,
Like that's how they knew it was him, and that's why they started instead of holding him for protective custody from the mob or mafia, because that was the first thing he said is he thought it was a mob hit. Then it turned instead of holding him in protective custody to interrogating him because they found those boxes and the ammo and all that stuff that matched what was used. So like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's how people get caught, though. They make mistakes. That's what we're saying. No matter if they're a monster or not, they're still a human. They might not act
yeah.
like it. They may not be humane, but they're still a human being, and they still make mistakes eventually. So it's 9:01, so it's time for us to go, everybody. Thanks for watching. Whoever's been watching the whole time, thank you. Appreciate it. If you have anything you want us to talk about or any like cold case, any like unexplained paranormal or supernatural anything, UFOs, aliens, or anything like that, send us the info or a brief description and we can research it and talk about it. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.